All right, hi everyone. Welcome to our faculty and staff lunch and learns. We have a great conversation around finding faith in our learning environments, facilitated by our very own Linda and Rachel. And I'm on the mission committee with Linda, and I know she brings a great perspective here. And I am pleased to meet Rachel for the first time today. And so I look forward to hearing it and everything that's going on. So I'll turn it over to them with that wonderful, short, terrible introduction. Sorry about that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Beaver. I work in the FNP program with Dr. Rachel Matson.
My name is Rachel Matson. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I am the clinical coordinator for all of our online FNP students.
We didn't get a chance to speak ahead of the presentation, so I'm wondering when the inclusion slide comes up, Audrey, if you might like to speak to that. But if not, we've got it covered. Shall we begin?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate your participation. It's building community, and all of us working together is what makes it happen. So our conversation today is finding faith in our learning environments. I'm using this model rather than going through the slides themselves because I can see Audrey and Rachel's faces as I'm talking. So just as a disclaimer, as we start, as moderators, we only speak for two different faith traditions. We don't represent everyone from our faith traditions, and it's really just an open conversation about how people from different faiths approach problems.
So our presentation will have about a 10-minute or so talking points and show you what we're doing in the FNP department. And then we'll spend 30 minutes or so on a breakout session and talk how you might be able to approach a problem in faith in your departments. 15 minutes or so, we'll come back and we'll talk about what we learned. And then 5 minutes, we'll wrap up. And we might even finish early and give you some time back. We'll see.
Audrey, would you like to speak with this? Or?
Oh, sure. I can talk about this. So for those who don't know, we did a community survey on inclusion and belonging in 2021, and we asked several demographic questions, and one of them was around current religious identity. And here are some of the snapshots of our population, faculty, staff, graduate students, undergraduate students, so you can see sort of how they identify in terms of their religious identity. And so you can see there's a nice spread going on here, and we will have a chart and a report with the differences where you could see it more completely around those different demographic categories. I would also just do a quick pitch for our 2022 Community Survey on Inclusion and Belonging as a pulse check. I'll put the link in the chat. And so, yeah, you can see that kind of spread there too. And then we can also disaggregate these to show how people's different religious identities affect their sense of belonging, inclusion, connection, and appreciation. But more to come on that.
Thank you so much, Audrey. What's really interesting is we have a wide demographic. For a Catholic university, we have about half our population is Christian and Catholic, but then we still have another half of our population that represent all different faiths. And we do have quite a chunk of those who are non-religious or non-denominational. So it was very interesting to look at the statistics and how it could apply to our specific student population. So we're going to do a quick poll to see who we have here with us today. So I'm not sure who has the poll available, but if they could share it. Just give everyone a minute. Audrey, are you able to share those results? There we go. So even here, we have quite a diversity. So we have about half of our participants today are either Catholic or Christian. We have some that are agnostic or atheist. We have some that don't identify, and we do have a small contingent of Judaic participants, which is actually a higher percentage than would be considered an international percentage. So that's nice to see. So we have a lot of diversity here today. And then as we scroll down, you'll also notice we have a perfect representation. Wow, I wasn't expecting this. So we're 1/3 administration, 1/3 faculty, and 1/3 staff. So that gives us a really good representation of what we have here at Regis. And it's interesting to see. Linda, could you forward the slides?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, it's stuck here. Okay, here we go. Beginning with the end in mind, which is a Stephen Covey business principle. So hopefully today we'll come away with an understanding of our own identity and faith tradition and how that relates to others. Also an understanding of how others live out their faith and approach problems differently.
So faith and diversity. So there's an estimated 10,000 distinct religions worldwide. And even in Judaism, we break down between Orthodox and secular, traditional, Reform. And in Christianity, we break down even further into Lutheran, Baptist, Catholic, and all these different faiths. And the world's faithful account for about 83% of the general population. Now, the majority do fall under 12 classical religions, with Christianity being the largest, Islam being second, Hinduism being third, and Judaism is anywhere from 3 to 5% of the international population, depending on the year.
So some fun facts I noticed on the internet when I was doing some research for this. Would you believe, and you may already know, the Bible is the world's best-selling book. And about 50 Bibles are sold every minute. Only 1.6% of the US population was Catholic in 1776. Today, there's about 25% of the US population that identifies as Catholic. And only 6 US presidents claimed no denominational affiliation.
So diversity in a nutshell. So in short, you could say we kind of all have the same basic truths in religion, especially the three larger, when we talk about Christianity, Judaism, and the Muslim faith. That being said, we all have a path to God. We all have our own way. And for those who don't believe in God, they have their own path too. They have their own faith, whether that's sin, creation, heaven, and hell. And in Judaism, we don't have hell. And then even in my own growing up, so I grew up in a household with diversity. My father was Jewish, my mother was Christian. We joked that I was half Christian, half Jew, and completely nuts. And we went to Hebrew Day during the week, and I went to synagogue Friday, Saturday, church on Wednesday nights and Sundays, and we grew up in a very diverse population. What was nice is our parents gave us that room to grow and understand their faiths and how they grew and develop. And interestingly enough, I moderated and moved towards the Judaic faith, and my sibling actually has moved towards the Christianity faith. And but we're both very strong in our faith in God, and having that ability to have those open conversations was wonderful. But listening's vital, because you could get your feelings hurt by making assumptions about how they believe, and learning other religions was key, and it's a foundation. It also creates a lifelong respect for diversity and difference. And even for those who are agnostic or atheist, listening is key to respect.
So about listening and how we say it, I come from a Catholic background. And so I will sometimes refer to the Old and the New Testament, which is a Christian approach to things, but Jewish people would refer to the Hebrew Bible. And I thank my Jewish friends that have pointed that out, that there is no New Testament for them. That's a Christian concept. And then different ways of referring to historical times, such as before Christ or before the Common Era. So conversations with different faith traditions help us understand our identity and how we express ourselves through that.
So in the online master's program, we recognized a problem, and we realized that students were having challenges with finding a preceptor. And there's lots of caveats to that, COVID being one of them, but there's lots of other things that are going on. And it was essential, they have to have these hours to pass the courses, not only clinical, but didactic. And so they must have 600 hours with a preceptor. They can be with a medical doctor, with a physician associate, or even with a nurse practitioner, but finding these preceptors is very difficult. We used to, and the practical solution is we would send them leads and we would help coach them on how to create a better CV or how to create a good cover letter or ways to promote themselves to these preceptors. But even then, sometimes there's still a barrier to finding what they need in order to graduate. So Linda, I want to give her credit, came up with this very faithful approach because she's very strong in her faith. And so she started the Prayers for Preceptor project. And what we did and how we implemented it is we reached out to our student base and we created a form that basically said, are you interested in this? And asked a series of questions on what they'd like to see. The results showed that our students had an interest in a weekly email that had some sort of inspirational quote, something to give them more confidence and faith that things were moving forward. So Linda did her research. She actually researched biblical quotes related to common issues, confidence, rejection, faith, fear. And the next slide goes a little bit into more detail. And then she brought those back and we worked together to take those quotes and implement them in a way and explain them to students and create more of a conversation around those to help them with these barriers that they were having. We identified different concepts of concern, and we'll go ahead and go on to the next slide and Linda will talk more about that.
Okay. So as mentioned, we identified a number of topics. My initial goal was to have an email for each week of the semester, but as things worked out, we're doing the pilot this semester about halfway through. So we're doing 4 of these and maybe using some material that we used in the past as well, related to perseverance and some positive affirmation statements. But for the emails that we talked about, I'm going to move this over here. This would be an example of something really simple. The students are extremely busy, so it really needs to be a very short, tight, concise email. So we're saying something like, tying it into scripture, being a successful NP student and practitioner involves confidence, confidence in yourself, confidence in your ability to retain information, and confidence in the Regis community that's here to support you. And then the quote that goes with it, therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which has great reward. So hopefully the students will quickly see that email and maybe chew on it for the week, maybe just mull it over and see what thoughts come up about confidence during the week. And I credit Dr. Mattson for helping me, and really because she is the doctor of nursing practice, she's lived the road, she's been there. She knows everything that they're thinking, not only as a student, because at one point she was a student, but also as a practitioner. So together we're going through these themes and deciding what may be helpful, and also other people from the FNP program are also weighing in on some of those themes, and I'm happy to work with anybody who would like to be part of it.
So while we're doing this pilot program in the FNP program, we realized we should present it to the university at large and see if anyone else or any other departments were having a particular problem they were having and how we could go about helping solve it, and see if there was a faithful approach that we could include in that. So I'm not sure how many are here. Do we have enough to do some breakout rooms?
You have about 25 people.
Yeah. Do we want to throw 2 rooms?
I can set those up. Yep.
That'd be amazing. So what we'll do is we'll jump into 2 breakout rooms, and we'd love you all to participate and talk about things that are happening in your programs. For us, it's preceptors and helping them keep positive, because most of our students are working in healthcare, and we all know what's going on in healthcare right now, right? And so I'd like to just hear what's going on in your areas and how, we might be able to, again, include faith in your areas.
Okay, here we go. I'm opening the rooms.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we intend to do this probably for about, I don't know.
We're just gonna. The recording is in progress. So we're going to do a quick synopsis of what we talked about, and then I'll let Linda, or whoever the spokesman for that group is. So we had a quite diverse group. We had both faculty, staff, and administration in our group. And we were talking about how Miss Christine, her faculty development program is coming together, and DQ suggested, and along with Terry, suggested that maybe we do a faculty along with students and staff and adjuncts, some sort of group Bible study every month and meet. And it didn't have to just be Bible verses. We could use verses from any text, religious text, and include everyone. And to a couple different ends. One, include students and faculty so we all are on the same level, make people more feel like there's a connection, include the missions and the vision of Regis within that context, and communicate better the mission of Regis and how we're working on that as a group. And please interrupt me if I'm not interpreting this right or explaining it right, my group. And we were also talking about, how we, some of us use the Bible to help us in our everyday lives when we talk with our children who may not be the most easygoing children. Apparently, two of us have very similar children who love video games and computers and don't always want to behave. And it was interesting how we talked about passages from different we had a Chinese Bible compared to an American Bible, and I'm not sure which text Dan read out of, but it was one of those, the translation was very different. So even though we were both reading a Bible, we were reading two different passages with different meanings. So it was a very open conversation, and it was quite insightful, and I think we had a very cohesive group, and we came up with a few ideas. It's the start of a conversation. We have more conversations to have. Does anyone from our group want to add to what I said? Or if not, then Linda can go ahead or whoever in your group is presenting. All right, Linda, take it away, or whoever's your spokesperson. Linda, you're on mute.
Silly me. Does anyone from group 2 wish to speak instead of myself or instead of me? Okay, no takers. So I'll start with some discussion points that we had, and then hopefully others may add and chime in too. So one of the first things we started talking about was one of the students actually mentioned that they didn't know that they were at a Catholic college, and felt very welcomed. And so I guess there's like two sides of that. I mean, where it is the Sisters of St. Joseph that founded the college, it's concerning that they didn't see that Catholic identity. But at the same time, we live the value, which is without distinction. So I think that it's a toss up there, and I think I like to look at things from a positive perspective, and I thought that was one positive. Father Paul mentioned that we do have the worship services at the chapel at 5 o'clock on Sundays, and everyone is welcome to that. I know it was raised that we didn't really have time to discuss it, so I'm going to just share a thought, and then maybe Father Paul or Dan could pick up and describe it a little bit better, because that's their department. So what we talked about, it was the welcoming and the inclusion. And while the some religions have a lot of similarities, some don't, but some do. And sometimes I've noticed, because friends have mentioned it to me, if they're not welcome in the communion procession, that can be somewhat feeling like they're not welcome. What I will always share with my friends, like people at funerals, oftentimes you'll have different religions participating. And normally the priest will mention that if someone isn't Catholic, that they're certainly free to come up to the line and make I don't know if you can see me, but make like that kind of symbol, which shows that they're not part of the faith tradition. They don't want to receive communion, but they're with us in faith. While others may wish to receive communion and feel they're not welcomed, really, that's not the intent of the religion as I understand it. And this is where I'm getting a little bit out of my lane. But what I understand it to mean is that a Catholic really believes, we believe that it is the body and blood of Christ, that it's not a symbol, it is the body and blood of Christ. So if you don't have that same mental, then it's probably it's a sacrament that you wouldn't go through, and there's a lot of preparation that goes in. It's not just receiving a wafer, it's a holy sacrament. So I'll stop talking there, and then maybe Father Paul or Dan could speak to that better than I can. And you're both on mute in case. And maybe you don't want to speak, and I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, I mean, the only thing that we would say is that it's interesting, and the numbers really speak to that. The percentage of Catholic, when we have worship on Sunday evenings, it's a Catholic mass, but I would guess that a third of our students are not Catholic, but they're welcome to be there with us, pray, and they do. They participate and they ask for a blessing. In addition, I'm sure you brought up too that we have the Peace Room, which is a non-denominational prayer space as well that many of our students use. So we know that we can always do better, but we're looking for ways to just help people call attention to the spiritual in their lives and ways that we can accompany them responsibly. Paul, you were going to add something?
I was going to say it was interesting in the development, having been around the campus for a long time. You know, we started out with with campus ministry, and everybody identified campus ministry as Catholic. So if you weren't Catholic, you didn't come near us. And then a number of years ago, we changed to the Center for Ministry and Service just to broaden the interpretation of who we were. And it had a major impact in terms of students feeling welcome. So I've been working in campus ministry for over 20 years in different schools, and I never had the thought it was just Catholic. But even at a Catholic school, that's the way they saw it. So we changed it, and it changed the fabric of our work in many different ways.
Can I ask, one thing that came up in our survey on inclusion and belonging was that our Jewish community members felt less included, particularly around scheduling and holidays and exams and events, and response to anti-Semitic incidents that happen outside of our campus's walls, and how we could be more inclusive there, and recognize the lens through which we view the world. So even if we're not devout Catholics, in the Northeast, we have a very Catholic lens. And in the United States in particular, we have a very Christian lens. I mean, our calendar is a Christian calendar. So how can we be more, how can we recognize that lens and sort of be mindful of what other people's lenses are and perspectives there? I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on that.
Audrey, I think that was Audrey speaking. I really appreciate you saying something about that. I was, I guess, a little bit disappointed that Regis hasn't said anything about the comments that have come out in terms of anti-Semitism over the past few weeks, especially with Kanye West or Kyrie Irving. As someone in the Jewish community, I mean, my kids just had a bomb threat at their Jewish school this week, and a SWAT team was there. And, you know, that's not national news, but some of the other pieces are very national. And I would hope that anyone of any faith community or any community at all that we're able to recognize that around the country, that there are increased threats and pieces that are going on in different people's communities throughout the country. And the whole meeting piece also, right? So today for me, Shabbat starts at, I think, 4:10, and our faculty meeting ends at 4 o'clock. So that's it's a tough balance of trying to meet everything, putting that all together. So thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate it.
So everyone knows the reason we happen to have it this particular day is because Friday is the availability for Ray, and also December becomes incredibly busy for both of us between her grading and my approving preceptorships. But yes, apologies for that. Could have been better timed.
Oh, this meeting isn't an issue. There's enough time, but it's more of that faculty later on in the afternoon for those faculty piece. But
yeah, Okay.
There's also a sort of movement to change our syllabi too. I mean, I thought I was a very inclusive educator because I would, be very flexible, and I would try, I had, the Outlook calendar. And so I knew which holidays were coming up, but I never had it written anywhere in my syllabus of, oh, I get that because of, how classes are structured. And so it's just another way to preemptively acknowledge it, so that people can feel like they can talk about it or ask for, okay, I'm at, Diwali or whatever it is that they're doing.
May I just, Leanne, Roseanne, thank you so much for your comments. And I think that this is something that we struggle with, putting statements out and how we do that. Social media, sometimes we have a Twitter account and there's like 6 colleagues who like our tweets. We haven't found that formula to have an effective message or affirmation or condemnation of something. And if anybody has ideas about that, we've tried to put emails out, and the university doesn't like any more all staff emails, which I think are effective, but they have shut that down for various reasons. So we're looking for ways to be more effective in that communication. If anybody has any ideas, let's talk about that as well.
I think you're on track with the social media, but I think that maybe an active Facebook page of some sort, or because one, you could highlight different faculty on top of that, and we could highlight different initiatives, not just those things. But I don't use Twitter anymore, and I don't know if any of my students even use that. It's kind of become a political hot point, and so it's not necessarily the best social media to be using at this time, no matter where you fall on the spectrum for that. Linda, did you have anything else for your group?
We talked a little bit about learning different faiths and learning about different faith traditions. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything about that.
No, but that would be fun. That would be something nice to post as far as like things that Regis might put out. This holiday is coming up, and this is some information about it for those who don't know as far as inclusion. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. Linda, you don't need to share that final slide. I can just talk. I want to thank everybody for coming and joining the conversation and really participating. I appreciate it. I think everyone in our group spoke, and that speaks to how much we are, a family here at Regis, and we want to include everyone, and we want to make a difference, and how much we enjoy being part of the Regis community. So again, thank you so much for coming today. I hope that, while we're doing prayer for preceptors in the online F&P program, maybe it triggered something that you found that you can do for your students or your departments. And yes, Dan, I will volunteer myself for that project if you guys start putting it together. So, well, it was great meeting you all, putting faces to names, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Nice to see you, Rachel.
Yes, DQ, I will reach out.